good question to me. Can the Pelicans get the eight seed, and I'm gonna have to say no. Their roster is really talented. They're really good. I think they'll definitely be in the tournament. But if you look at the teams from last year, I think all six of the eight teams have a very good shot. I mean, if you discount the Rockets because of James Harden basically going MIA and just kind of not wanting to play for them anymore. And then the OKC Thunder without Chris Paul, maybe Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, but no Gallo too. I don't think they're going to be there. But
Probably
you still
not.
have six teams, and then you add Memphis, that when Jaren Jackson gets healthy, they have two legit young players in Ja and Jaren Jackson, so they're going to be in the conversation. You throw in the Spurs because Lonnie Walker, Keldon Johnson, they looked great opening night. They're going to be in the conversation. The Warriors are going to be in the conversation. That's three. The Suns are going to be in the conversation. That's four. And then you throw in the Pelicans. That's five different teams vying for two spots that are going to be available. So I'm going to go with no.
I honestly think they could, and like we mentioned, so we talked like, can Zion live up to the hype, and we said probably not, and that's because the hype was like the next LeBron. Like, that's what he was getting hyped up as. He's still going to put up a quiet 20 points, and I think Brandon Ingram is actually he's coming into like what he was drafted to be, an absolute menace on offense. The Slim Reaper, as some would say, like the KD clone. But no, he played really well last night, and I think they will. Losing Drew Holiday is kind of tough, but Lonzo is decent. I don't know. I think they'll push more now that Zion's healthy.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. They looked great opening night. They really did. Zion looked great. He took 9 shots to score 15 points. Brandon Ingram looked like Brandon Ingram. Lonzo shot it well, which is always a good thing because he can have a month where he shoots the ball well. I think the big thing for them is they're going to be a horrific free throw shooting team. They're going to be horrible at shooting free throws. Besides Redick and Ingram, who's really improved, there's not a good free throw shooter on that team. Steven Adams is a bad free throw shooter. Zion's a bad free throw shooter. Lonzo's a terrible free throw shooter. And to win close playoff type games, you got to be able to make free throws. And I don't think they can.
Yeah, it'll be pretty close. And then I think we should just go with more questions. So here's one. And so I actually watched the Mavericks game last night, the Mavericks Suns, and the ending was kind of hard to watch. It wasn't a great game, like just bad basketball. A lot of like just those nitpicky fouls that like the superstars get. Like there was a lot of those. So I don't know how much Porzingis gonna be missing out, but I don't think he will. And one of the main things with MVP is this was bearing Russell Westbrook's 2017 MVP, where his team was in a top 3 seed. Your team has to perform at like a top 5 level, right? Like you have to be one of the 3 or 4 best teams in the league. So that means like top 3 seed in the West. They will not be a top 3 seed in the West. They just won't be, like without Porzingis. Even with him, I don't think they would be. I don't think he will. I understand the hype around him, though. He looked great against the Clippers. I don't think he's there yet, and I don't think he'll win MVP. I don't know who will. I don't think Giannis will. Like maybe KD does if he comes back and plays amazing.
Yeah. So if the Nets,
right?
Sorry, I interrupted you, but I agree with you. If the Nets are a top 2 seed in the East, the MVP is going to be Kevin Durant, just because of him coming back from his Achilles. That story. It's more about the story than it is about the player. That's what I've always learned watching sports, because if it was just about the players, LeBron James would have 10 MVPs. Michael Jordan, when he played, would have 10 MVPs. But there's a lot of story that has to do with it. And so I think if the Nets are a top 2 seed, it'll be Kevin Durant. I pick Luka to win it in the preseason, and I still think he's got a good shot. I think it really hurts that their team is just him or nothing right now without Kristaps Porzingis. And they don't have a lot around him, just reliable people to make shots. But I still think he's more than capable. And I think he's going to put up triple-double type numbers this season. And if he puts up double type numbers and they're a top 4 seed, I have no question that he would be in the conversation and maybe he would win it.
Yeah, it's just being a top 4 seed in the West, you have to play with the Lakers, Clippers, Nuggets. I mean, even if he's the 4 seed, which I don't think he will, because I mean those 3 teams are definitely better than the Mavericks. Like he would have to be the 4 seed, and he he would have to average a triple-double. And even if he does, like if the Nets are the 1 or 2 seed, like I think KD would probably get in that point. And who knows, maybe Giannis like does even better than he did last regular season and he gets it. I don't think he will, but it's like not the most improbable thing in the world.
So I think Giannis is going to get to a point where people are kind of he's going to get stale, which means that like
right?
Yeah, until he does something in the playoffs now, it's going to be basically well, whatever you do in the regular season, it's what you did the last 2 years. So it's not better. So we're not going to give you MVP. And yes, I totally agree with this. That's why if Luka gets to I was thinking if he gets to the 4th seed, it would be James Harden-esque because James Harden has carried some pretty bad teams with some pretty hurt rosters, pretty high to a pretty high seed in the Western Conference.
Yeah. Another question. So thoughts on Lamelo, and it's very concerning seeing a point guard that can't shoot because, like throughout the last few years, it's been a major problem. You think of Lonzo, you think of Emmanuel Mudiay, you think of Frank Ntilikina. They can't. Yeah. The point guards that can't shoot really struggle to do well. Now, one with Lamelo is he has a really good ball handle and he's an amazing passer, so he has like way more potential than any of those dudes just based on that. But not being able to shoot is like kind of a death sentence for point guards at this point. Like you think of the best point guards, they at least have like a 30, 35% 3-point shot or like a good scorer, right? So I think that'll be his biggest downfall is our biggest thing to look into is like if he can develop a jump shot, he will be what people think he can be, which is like a 6'7" elite ball handler, like playmaker. But if he can't develop a jump shot and teams don't respect him from the 3-point line, he'll get like sort of a Ben Simmons treatment where like you'll dare him to shoot. And the man doesn't even – I wouldn't even call it a jump shot at this point. The man jumps like 4 inches off the ground.
It's a push shot.
It's pretty funky looking.
He pushes the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I actually disagree. I think his shot it's bad. He's not a good shooter, but I think he's just in a historically bad slump, and I think he'll be fine. I think he's had a rough start in the preseason. I think he's had a rough start in terms of his regular season. But I think as he gets comfortable with the pace of the game, he's going to be fine. And I think I think LaMelo is actually going to be closer to what people thought Lonzo would be, which would be a Jason Kidd type that would average like 15, 8, and 8. And I don't think LaMelo is ever going to be a Penny Hardaway type player just because I don't think he's an elite athlete. And to be an elite player in the NBA, you normally have to be an elite athlete. So he's extremely skilled. He's going to be a savvy passer, solid like rebounder, a good get a decent amount of assists and score here and there just based on savvy, but I don't think he's going to be a 20-plus point a game scorer ever, even if his shot improves.
Yeah, but getting a shot is big, and he's not the best defender either.
No, he's not good at it at all.
He's not really a good defender. I think he could be average just based on the fact of like height and like I don't know, he's kind of figured out like being a really good passer and stuff. Like hopefully he'll develop athletically. So
you want to call it here, or you want to take one more question, or what?
We can do this other question. So he was someone who at least. So I'll go first, but seeing him up to the pre-draft when he said if he got drafted to the NFL, he'd rather be there, and he also said that he finds the NBA boring to watch. I think that's a huge, huge red flag, and it's given me some Andrew Wiggins vibes. #1 pick, super athletic. Timberwolves. That's a big problem for me. I think you have to love the game to like be truly, truly like a really good player. He did look. I think he did pretty good compared to most of the other rookies. I think he had like 15 points or something. But that worries me significantly. The fact that he doesn't have the drive to be a good player.
Well, we don't know if he doesn't have the drive because we don't know him. So that's not exactly like fair to say.
He said he'd rather be in the NFL, and he said he also finds NBA boring. He finds the sport of basketball.
But not every player likes to watch the NBA. He said it honestly. Yeah. Fair, just to be fair to him, he looks talented, he looks athletic, but I agree with you on the Andrew Wiggins comparison in the sense that I don't think he's ever going to be like an all-star or star type player. I think he's just going to be a pretty good one.
Yeah, and with your number one pick, you'd hope for better. This class was kind of like it's been known as like a weaker class or talked about
Mhm.
as a weaker class. We'll see if that actually comes to fruition and like these guys aren't like that. But that's my thing with him is I'm worried like if you find something boring and you have to be in the gym doing that for 10 to 12 hours a day to be great, it's a problem. I mean, it's just simply put, it's a problem.
I mean, where I would defend him is I guess he finds watching the NBA boring. He never said he finds playing basketball boring. So
Well, if
if
he's
he's willing to
studying
play
film,
basketball, he
he's
doesn't
going to
have
be
to watch the NBA. And I don't mind if this draft class is weak at all, as long as Killian Hayes turns out to be a super duper star and the Pistons go to the finals.
I mean, my thing is like if he's bored watching it and he has to watch film on players' tendencies, do you think he's really going to enjoy doing that? And
Well, he might be bored by the NBA presentation. Like not everybody wants to sit and watch LeBron play somebody else in their free time. But if he has to do it as his job to make money, he might be a professional that way and be willing to do it.
I don't know. We'll see, right? We'll see how his
We'll
career.
see. Yeah, but I mean, yeah, I didn't want to just take I just don't take those comments at face value. But there's definitely a point. You definitely have a point. There's what you said definitely has validity.
This is a pretty. I think this will probably be our last question. We've gone longer than we wanted to, but this is kind of a big topic. I don't think we've talked about this yet. Vish, what are your thoughts on LeBron to pass MJ?
Can he? I don't know. I think those who think MJ's the GOAT are always going to think MJ's the GOAT. Those who already think LeBron's the GOAT are going to think LeBron's the GOAT regardless. It comes up to you. For me, I didn't get to see Michael Jordan, so it's tough for me to just sit here and say, oh, MJ's the GOAT for sure. And then it's tough for me to just say LeBron's the GOAT for sure because I didn't see Michael Jordan. Just based on the highlights and stuff, maybe Jordan was better. But for me, LeBron is definitely the best player I've ever seen, and I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, so I'm probably like farther MJ than LeBron. And so if we talk about this religiously, and one thing that is such a good point is the Mavericks series and how badly that's tainted LeBron's career. And if you're arguing with someone and you tell them, or they just bring up like, hey, does your GOAT like just look at the Mavs series, you'll see he gets torched by Jason Terry like throughout the series. He fails to score more than Terry, and this was kind of his first big test. One of the things that people like to hold against LeBron is like teaming up with people, which I don't really have too big of a problem with, I guess. But I would say if he had to pass MJ, I'd say he'd need to probably win, at least go 6-6 in NBA Finals and win the Finals MVP. And I think it's more of a issue of can he win the Finals MVP and actually win, than getting, because I think he'll get there. I don't know if he'll win though. So that's just my thoughts.
So with this real quick, I think LeBron actually has the most playoff game winners in NBA history. But I'll say to you, like how somebody like some people I know that watch Jordan, watch LeBron said, and I don't know if this is just a perception, because sometimes perception and reality aren't exactly the same. And I think that the way players are covered has a lot to do with perception. And LeBron has a notorious hater in the media who's driven a lot of narratives around about him, and Jordan didn't have that guy. But the one thing I will say is that people, the way they describe it to me is that whenever LeBron has a big game, they're never sure if he's going to win it. With Jordan, there was a big game and your team was playing against the Bulls, you always felt that your team didn't have a chance because no matter what, Jordan was going to get the job done. And his career, if you look through it, it bears out that he was a big-time player every single time. So, yeah. And then real quick with Kobe, he's probably the second best player I've ever seen. I love Kobe, RIP. But for me, LeBron, the way he controls the game, the way he controls everybody around him is just beyond special to me.
Yeah, and I do. As much as I think MJ is better than LeBron, I think the narrative and just like the media's kind of hurt LeBron a lot. The fact that he'll put like a 40. I think of this scenario. I think it was 2018, and they played the Warriors. It was their first game come back from the the Rocket series, which was awesome. LeBron had a 50-point triple-double. It was the infamous J.R. Smith didn't pass LeBron the ball. Like, he dribbled the clock out after Hill missed the free throw right. Like, people hold that game against him, and I just don't see, like, how you can do that. He dragged that team against possibly the best team we've ever seen, and, like, people hold that against him. They're like, oh, he doesn't have killer instinct. Like, he didn't win. Like, how could you say this man's better than MJ? Like, MJ would have pulled this out. Like, I don't know. I just think he gets, like, overly criticized.
Yeah, that's just hypothetical.
Kind of annoying.
You don't know that. Nobody knows that. That's why I just don't like even getting into this debate.
Yeah.
It's just different eras. Everybody's going to have a different opinion on it. The bottom line is they're all super great. And, and we're all privileged to just be able to watch their careers play out.